Hi guys, I was promising to do this video for a while now and I just kept forgetting and didn't feel like sitting on my computer and getting it all recorded and whatnot with a little monster here. But I wanted to share exactly how said little monster came to be. If you're on my friends list watching this on Facebook, you obviously know River. If you were just a follower on YouTube who watched one of my other announcement videos, then, here's my little miracle here. This is River Eve. She loves to see herself in the camera, so I'm sure you'll get very many close-ups of her. So I know this is going to be a little bit long, so bear with me. If I'm infertility is not a short journey, so this won't be either. And forgive me if I get a little bit jumpity. I'm trying to read off something that I typed up for myself, but easier said than done with monster, right? You gonna smile? You gonna smile for the people? No? Okay. She'll probably give you one later. So, to start it out, Greg and I have been married for 3 years this December. And when we first got married, I got implanol, the arm bar in my arm for birth control because we didn't want to have kids right away. And about 6 months after I had that put in, my body just said, no, it's not happening. It got placed on a nerve. I don't know what happened, but it never stopped hurting, and I was never able to lay on it, sleep on it, touch it. It just hurt. So I went in and got it removed. And when Greg and I were discussing about getting it removed, where we'd go from there, we decided we've been married, 8 months at that point. He's military. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. Why not go ahead and get kids over with? I'm very close to my mom. We're only 17 years apart. So I would assume younger can be better. And that way, if we decide we want more kids than 2 or 3, we can spread them out over the years. So we went ahead and got it removed and went from there. Now, a little bit of background about me. If you know me, this might be a little bit too much information. This whole thing might be, but bear with me. I have never had normal periods. I started them when I was in middle school, and they would come every few months. They'd come 2, 3 times a year, and they'd last anywhere from 2 days to 8, 9 days. And when I was about 17, I got put on birth control pills for my periods. And that was the only thing that kept them regulated. And obviously, if I was trying for a baby, that wasn't going to happen. So, getting off it, I'm like, I don't have periods. Is that any big deal? And they're like, no, you should be fine. Well, 6 months went by, and I hadn't had a period, and all I was having were negative tests. So I went into the doctors to, at the very least, get started with my period again, because that's all they could do at that point, because they can't help you until a year out. So I went in there, and they gave me Provera? It starts with a P. And they said this should jumpstart your period, and that might be all you need. One period, and you should get pregnant. You're young, you're healthy, you should be good to go. And I, started it. I had my period. I had my ovulation trackers, and I watched, my hormones say I ovulated. And now this is something that very few people know, and I don't broadcast because it's just not me. But we did, after that period, get a positive pregnancy test at 6 months out, but it was a chemical pregnancy, so I lost it. And then from there, I didn't have another period for another 6 months. So we went ahead and got into the fertility doctors. And the first thing they said was, oh, you have PCOS, you're a heavier girl, you don't get your periods. That's obvious right there, which is another reason, yes, I'm heavy. It's the PCOS that does it. And so they started us on Clomid. They're like 85% of women get pregnant off Clomid, and it works for them. So we tried one round of Clomid, and we went back in for an ultrasound of my follicles. And if you're not doing the fertility journey and you don't know what follicles are, or some of these words are, I'll try to explain them as I go. Follicles they look like little stems, kind of, and when your eggs come up, they are in that, and they grow on there, and they need to be anywhere from 17 millimeters on the screen to 20 millimeters on the screen to be a viable egg. And when I went in after Clomid, which is what the Clomid is supposed to do, is supposed to help boost them in growing into bigger eggs and be viable eggs. When I went in for my ultrasound, they said that they had barely grown any, and okay, we'll just up your dose of Clomid, see if that helps you. Went back in a few days later, and nothing. They hadn't grown more than like 1 millimeter, and they were only like 6 millimeters. And they were like, all right, you are one of the 15% that does not respond to Clomid. Joy! You know, that's just great. So they had to jumpstart another period. And then at that point, they're like, we can start you on something else, but with how poorly your body responded to Clomid, we don't know what we're going to do to help you necessarily. So they went ahead and skipped over one of the other steps they usually do and got me straight into fertility shots. Let me see if I can find what those are called. I have them written down. I got this. Got this. Here's a cute river to dance as I read and find it. Follicism. Anyway, it's a little pen where daily, well, nightly, I inject a certain amount of medication into my stomach to help the eggs grow. And they went ahead and started me on a dose of that, had me come in a few days later, because usually they give you 1 dose of this, and 3 days later, your eggs are fully grown, ready to go. I went in 3 days later, they had barely grown. They upped my dose, sent me back in. 3 days later, barely had grown. At that point, they're like, we don't know what to tell you. Your body's not responding to medication. You cannot ovulate on your own. Your eggs cannot grow on their own. You will not be getting pregnant. You're done. You're not going to have a baby. I'm sorry. We're going to keep trying to up your follicism and see what we can do to help you, but you're probably out of luck. And at that point, Greg and I started looking into adoption. And we went back in 4 or 5 days later to the doctors, and they checked them, and they're like, well, you've got 1 little egg that's at 14. And remember at the beginning there I said they need to be 17 to 20. They're like, we'll let you trigger shot your ovulation, which is another shot of HCG into my system that will make you ovulate. We'll let you do this, and, you know, just so you know, we've tried, and we'll try again next month, but the chances are very, very low. And they're even next to impossible that anything's going to happen this month. And so, you know, Greg and I went home. We were sad. We continued on our adoption journey, getting a hold of adoption agencies, starting to plan stuff out. Yeah, you tell them. And we trigger shot on a Sunday, and then, you know, May River, and they said, call us 2 weeks after you trigger shot and tell us the results of the pregnancy test, and we'll get you right back in, and we'll try again. And we'll start your period up again, because I can't have periods by myself. And so with the HCG, the trigger shot, if you can buy little wand flows on Amazon where they're like 50 for $10 for pregnancy tests, and I did that, and I tested the HCG out of my system, so I watched a pregnancy test turn positive and then slowly turn negative again. Well, about 9 days past ovulation, I happened to look at one of those pregnancy tests, and I'm like, do I see a little line? No, I can't see a little line. I'm just seeing things. A few days later, I took a first response, early response pregnancy test, and it popped up bright positive. And a couple days later is when I told Greg, and that video is here too, of him finding out and freaking out. And I called up the doctor's office. I'm like, I was supposed to call with the results of my pregnancy test. They're like, okay. You're Miranda Aiken? Yeah. Okay. It's positive. What? They were as surprised as I was, because the nurses there knew me and they knew what was going on. And we went into the doctors, and they drew my blood and everything. And, you know, our journey didn't end there, because when they drew my blood, they found out my progesterone was really, really low. And they're like, this could be a miscarriage. Your progesterone's too low. We're going to give you supplements, but it could be too low for a successful pregnancy. And they kept upping my dose of those. And we went in at just under 6 weeks and to see an ultrasound and no heartbeat. Which, yes, it was too early, but at the same time, it was like, we don't have a heartbeat. We're on progesterone. She wasn't supposed to be here anyway. That egg wasn't supposed to be viable. And so we came in a week and a half later, and there was our little miracle's heartbeat. Just thump, thump, thumping away, letting us know she was there. And when I went into the doctors at 13 weeks, she gave us another scare because they couldn't find her heartbeat on the Doppler. So we got an ultrasound then. And then again at 17 weeks, she tried to let us know she wasn't there by, you know, scaring the crap out of us and making us have to have another ultrasound. But she did it. We made it. God is great. Sorry if that was a little bit too religious for some of you, but we did it. She is literally our miracle. She should not be here. We were not supposed to have kids. Our journey of infertility lasted us a year and a half, which is a whole lot shorter than a lot of people's. But at the same time, she's just a miracle. She wasn't supposed to be here. A friend of mine says she was the little egg that could. And boy, was she. She is my little egg that could, because she shouldn't be here. But she is, and she's beautiful and sweet and mouthy. Here, I'll let her have the camera and just say how awesome it is. So if you're here from wandering YouTube because you're having fertility problems, or if you followed my YouTube and you just wanted to know what's up and have fertility problems yourself, don't give up. The doctors can say you cannot have a baby, yet here's my little monster that's proof they can be wrong. And they were wrong with her because, she's here. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean we'll be able to get successful with another baby. We'll try 2 years, 3 years down the road. We'll try for another one. And if we can't have another baby, that's fine. We're going to adopt anyway. My husband was adopted. We want to have an adopted baby. But for now, we're very thankful for this beautiful, sweet, and silly little baby. Oh, and for those that didn't know, she was born June 24th at 7 pounds, 12 ounces, and 21.5 inches long. Yeah, I'll do another video maybe after this about my birth story. But don't give up, guys. Miracles happen, right? Can we smile? Can we smile? Just a little one? Yeah, good job. Mwah.